Even since 2006, have really primarily focused on investing into domestic India companies, right? That is our core focus, and even continuing this year, we have already invested in 6-7 companies, and those are all Indian entrepreneurs based out of India, focused on either Indian markets or global markets. So while our name says Indo-US, we are primarily an India-focused fund. Actually it's a question of what gets PR. E-commerce has only been a fourth of what we have invested. 25% of, I think, the investments we have made has been in e-commerce. But because there is so much energy around e-commerce, that's what usually is picked up by media, or there is an attention to those companies much more so. But we have invested in education, we have invested in clean tech, we have invested in software, and we have invested in global services. These are all, we have invested in mobile VAS. So these are all sectors we have actually invested in also. It's just that internet and e-commerce gets a lot of attention and focus. So I think there will continue to be consolidation, but I also think that there will be companies that will build themselves into the vertical. Usually, I don't think that the number one company is getting consolidated in any given vertical. It will usually be the second, third, fourth, because then it makes the ecosystem much more leaner in terms of being competitive. So I think consolidation will continue, but we'll also see many companies come and try to compete for deep vertical leadership. If we look at across the board into several verticals, let's take apparel in e-commerce that we are talking about, or let us take baby or children e-commerce, or even let us take home decor, or so many verticals where there are actually companies that are doing a great job of building independent businesses. So I absolutely don't think that the horizontal leader is take it all, and that is not how it has worked in any market in the world so far, and in India also. We're absolutely certain that one, yes, consolidations will happen, but two, there will be independent leaders also that will emerge into these verticals. I think that's really the case mostly in the growth space. I think when companies are trying to raise $20-30 million, the problem that has happened is these companies have actually not scaled enough for that kind of capital, and there was a period last year where some of these companies could still raise that capital because it was very early in the market cycle. But the early stage companies, there's not a gloom in terms of raising money. I think a number of them are still getting funded. I think when companies are going to the market for a large capital raise, that's where I think there is a constraint, because that kind of growth capital is not freely available right now in India. I would look for deep domain understanding of the category. Let us say you're focused on home furnishing, or you're focused on parenting, or you're focused on shoes, or even apparel, right? We saw a company that was focused on women's apparel as a specialized category. Could be whichever, but what is the deep expertise into that category? What's your ability to take a fragmented supply chain and bring innovation into that? That's one thing. We would look for a basic fundamental understanding of the unit economics, which means that are you able by product differentiation to get significant gross margin? And without that, these companies cannot break even. Not today, obviously they're not breaking even today, but 2-3 years down the road. We have to have conviction that these companies have a path to profitability. Without that, funding would be very difficult. So these would be some of the primary things we would look for. Anybody would wish that they had invested in a Flipkart or a Quicker, or any of these companies that have sort of broken free, right? And it would be fantastic to be investors in those companies. Why not? If we could have. I think the key is expectation. I think that if you look at even e-commerce and when these companies have gotten funded, it's not been that long, 2-3 years only, right? And the problem is that they have been hyped so much that we haven't given the time to allow these companies to grow towards exits. And to some degree, the entrepreneurs are also responsible for that, setting proper expectations that they can deliver on versus believing that they can deliver a scale too soon and taking investment with that promise, which then they can't deliver. That's really where the mismatch is. I actually think in terms of absolute growth, these companies have done phenomenally. I would say that we need to modulate the expectations of exit timeframes. I think it depends on which investor you are. I think if you are Series A or seed investors, I think they are buoyant, they are happy, they are hopeful. I think if you are a growth investor, you're probably sitting in the sidelines saying, I need to watch, right? So I really think it depends on the category of investor. I think that the seed and early stage investors are still very excited about this whole space. I think that, e-com itself, which is simply moving retail online alone, I don't think necessarily that's where the innovation is. I think being able to provide something that is not available in physical retail, whether that's a service, whether that's an experience, whether that's a product selection, these are where we are very excited to look for, right? So if I can walk down the street and find something, then e-com alone doesn't, as a convenience alone, is not where convenience and value are not the only propositions that are defensible. I think looking for something that's special in terms of discovery and experience and selection is really where we are looking. Sharing information, sharing knowledge, which is all social and community, or whether it is really taking fragmented supply chains. I'm looking for the best doctor or best therapist. This is my problem. I also want a support group. So these kind of community-based verticals and or education, which can be cut in so many ways, whether it's learning or whether it's again information research. So I think that there are many e-com services into different verticals that have not yet been tapped into, which are all some new things that we are seeing in the market.